Hello and welcome to the recording of the Year 12 Parent Information Evening. Thank you very much for taking the time to have a little listen. I'm sorry you couldn't make it to the live event, but hopefully this will give you lots of information about the journey that your child will take during Year 12. I'd like to introduce Miss Schofield as the head of sixth form. I would like to introduce Mr Collot as the senior leadership link in charge of Key Stage 5. My name is Mr Leach and I am assistant head of sixth form in charge of Year 12. Ms Schofield.
Thank you. I'm going to start by introducing the team that supports all of sixth form. So we have myself and Mr Leach, who are running sixth form between us. I tend to look after Year 13, Mr Leach after Year 12. Supporting us very strongly, we've got Mr Collot and Mr Fry, the head teacher, takes an active interest in sixth form, as you'd expect. Underpinning our team, we've got Mrs Lake and Mrs Downey, who provide pastoral support, and Mrs Thomas, who does the administration for us. Fantastic depth in our team. We also have 7 tutors, and you can see the tutors here. They've all got a lot of experience of teaching and of being tutors, and our tutor groups obviously arranged into years 12 and 13 together. So that's the team, and I'm going to hand over to Mr Collot.
Good evening. Here are our results for the last 4 years. So the results were excellent last year, with 89% of entries being A stars to C, and nearly half of entries being A star to A. We obviously need to be a bit cautious though, as you're fully aware with your children doing their GCSEs last year. Traditional exams have not happened in the last 2 years, with schools awarding centre assessed grades in 2020 and students completing last year portfolio of evidence towards their centre determined grades. So we've heard from Ofqual, the qualification regulator, that results this year should be midway between what we had last year and what we had before COVID. So that will affect current Year 13. Comes 2023, when your children will be doing their exams, it should be all back to normal in terms of assessment. I know you heard that before, so we'll have to see. But we therefore need to get Year 12 students to prepare to sit exams, develop their endurance and resilience needed for long exams, learn to manage their time, so we will be setting up regular assessments in exam conditions. In terms of destinations, students every year go to a variety of places to continue their education. Some students start apprenticeships, some students go to university, including prestigious universities such as Oxford and Cambridge. Popular destinations last year were Bristol and Southampton, and we had students choosing a variety of courses such as engineering, law, math, zoology, computer science, and other courses. So we do support and guide students all the way with any application, and there's nowhere really they can't go to. Claire Lake, who was mentioned before, and the tutor team guide students through their personal statements and applications, and we do also offer students help with their interviews when it's appropriate.
Thank you, Monsieur Collot. And I'd like to talk to you about the Year 12 journey and the process that Year 12s will go through from September through to next July. The experience is quite different for Year 12 students in Key Stage 5. Things will seem very similar throughout the year. They will still get their reports, they will still have assessments, but things are slightly different in terms of how Year 12s experience things. So firstly, settling in. This is a process that we're currently going through. Students will take a while sometimes to settle in. It's made even more difficult over the last couple of months with the disruption that we've had to education. But we've gone through the process of enrolment, and during enrolment, students experienced some independent learning strategies, and I'll talk a little bit more about those in a moment. And it's about getting used to the pace. It's about getting used to the content of A-levels, which is significantly larger than the content in Key Stage 4 of GCSEs. But it's condensed down into 4 subjects rather than trying to cover a broader 11 subjects in some cases. It's all about developing independence as well. I think that's something that's really important, something that we really strive for in sixth form. During enrolment, we wanted to get students starting on the right foot, and so we introduced 4 additional sessions for students, which looked at filing, it looked at Cornell note-taking, looked at independent work, and it looked at the power of knowledge. You know, it's not just about being naturally gifted, it's about students having the knowledge that they require to take them to the next step and for them to succeed during their A-levels. Building good habits, building early study habits is really important, and that's what we're trying to get students to do. We looked at Cornell note-taking, as I mentioned there, and if you get a chance, do ask your children about Cornell note-taking, because it's actually a really powerful tool for them to concisely take notes during a lesson and allow them to summarise any learning that they've had as well. The next stage is reports. These will come out to the middle of November. They will be scores, they will be the grades that students are currently working at and expected grades. There'll also be comments from teachers during that report window as well. A little bit more information about how your child is getting on. The next phase, for lots of you, lots of parents already will know the process of learning review days. These are on the 2nd and 3rd of December. For those of you unfamiliar with learning review days, they are extended parents' appointments, but with the tutors of the parents, and the tutors of the children, apologies. And this is a great opportunity to build a little bit of rapport, get a little bit more understanding about the personal development of your child during sixth form, as well as the academic understanding as well. We will then have a second reports window, which is in the middle of January, and this will be just numerical data, and this will be how close your child is performing to their target grades, as well as attitude to learning as well. We then have a little later in the year, 15th of March, we have Parents' Evening. As it stands, our Year 13 Parents' Evening is going online. There may be the opportunity that we are in person, but we may use the online platform for Parents' Evening. We will confirm that closer to the time. We then have the the AS mocks, which will be in the week commencing the 21st of March. This is for a very small proportion of students. If your child is taking 4 subjects, we will have conversations with them closer to the time as to whether an AS in one of their 4 subjects is the best option. We will decide whether they're going to be successful during that AS period, or whether it's actually better to drop the subject and focus on 3. The reason we say dropping subjects is because whatever happens during that AS window, whether you get a U, an E, an A star, they go onto your UCAS applications, or they have to be submitted to covering letters or the like if you're applying for jobs. So we want to make sure the application looks as strong as possible for all students. We'll then have a third set of reports in late April for a little bit more understanding from the transition from Year 12 into Year 13. And finally, we will have AS levels for those Year 12 students sitting them, and or mocks, depending on whether your child has taken an AS. So, for example, all students will sit mocks during that window. We will get the results for the mocks, and the reports for the mocks will come out in the following September for Year 13 year. So you'll get more information, but generally the results are given to students before they break up for summer. So that's the Year 12 journey. And underpinning all of the journey throughout the way, as well as the academic side of things, is the enrichment. It's something that we really, really strive on here. And I'm going to pass over to Ms Schofield for a little bit more information on enrichment.
Thanks, Mr Leach. So we've worked really hard on the enrichment programme over the last few months, and we've launched a new one for this year. Let's talk about what enrichment is all about. It's about moving your sons and daughters out of their comfort zones. All of us can perform well or well enough in our comfort zones, but by moving out of them, we can find out how much we're capable of. We can learn things that we wouldn't have learned if we carried on doing the things we're already good at. It builds confidence. It makes people more interesting, more able to challenge things. So enrichment for us is about moving people out of their comfort zone. And I'll explain to you some of the ways in which we do that. So we have Independence Day once a fortnight. And the sorts of things that can go on Independence Day, we might challenge people to make a video, or they choose for themselves to make a video or a podcast or something. They might be volunteering in a local home or a hospital or something. They could be researching their futures, figuring out more about what they want to do. They could set up a self-help group amongst themselves. So if there are a bunch of people who all want to go and train as equine nurses, they could set up a self-help group to figure out how to get there and to ask for the right support from us working together. They could be doing something supporting the community. That was a very strong one last year with all the COVID restrictions, but has it helped us all to understand that maybe we should take a little more care of the elderly couple that live on the corner of the street? Not sure. They can set up their own societies. One group last year set up a film review club, and what they did once a week was they reviewed the worst rated films in the world and wrote up their thinking on them. It's fine, it got them together, it got them thinking. They could be doing what's called super curricular work. These are MOOCs. Let's have a little more about MOOCs. MOOC stands for Massive Online Open Course. And these are courses generally put together by universities. And they're supposed to give a taste of what a university subject is like, the sorts of things to be involved. And you can gain qualifications in MOOCs. Okay, so if your son or daughter is interested in being an architect, well, we don't teach architecture at school, but I bet you anything they can find a MOOC to do with architecture that would help them understand more about the subject, and just as importantly, make them look really committed to and interested in the subject when they're doing applications. Now, MOOCs should be free, and the students know how to find out about MOOCs, or if they've forgotten, they can ask their tutors, but they should be free. Please don't pay for MOOCs, not worth it. Another thing that they could do along the way is an EPQ, an extended project qualification, which is worth kind of half an A level, and I will come back to that comment in a moment. So these will start after half term, heading up towards Christmas, and we launched the idea in Assembly last week. We'll give more information over time. This is a fantastic addition to a personal statement or a covering letter for a job. It helps people to develop independent study techniques. They're allowed to research their own thing, and it's really useful in lots and lots of working environments. So when we say an extended project qualification, somebody could explore just about anything. The wave dynamics that affect the speed of a racing dinghy, the extent to which housing changes have affected the populations of Reading. You name it, you can do a MOOC in it. It's down to your own creativity. Perhaps most importantly, a MOOC demonstrates absolute passion for a subject. Is there another little block there? Yeah, so if you've got a passion for a subject, and maybe we don't do it in school, but you love the idea of it. The lives of the Brontes in the second half of whichever century in North Yorkshire. You can explore your passions. Thanks, Mr Leach. Now, back to the thing about an EPQ is worth half an A level. When people take qualifications, they accrue points. If somebody wants to go and be an engineer, they will need to do specific subjects, maths and physics and that kind of thing. If you want to go and do a more general degree, you probably won't be told which subjects to do. You'll be told how many points you need to access the course. So in the first year, by getting an AS level, the highest number of points you can get at AS level for a grade A is 20 points. However, if you do a BTEC or CTEC one-year course, you can get 28 points. And if you get an A-star at EPQ, you can get 28 points as well. So an EPQ, a BTEC or CTEC can both be worth more points for UCAS than an AS level. And if we go into the second year, you can see here that an EPQ or a distinction at BTEC is worth more than a D at AS level. I'm so sorry, there's a typo there. That second table points, the next column should say A. Those are A level points. And again, it's worth pointing out actually, a BTEC or CTEC, a distinction star, is worth just as much as an A star in terms of UCAS points. So EPQs, BTECs, CTECs, they're incredibly valuable in terms of futures. Now we have, excuse me, we're launching literally tomorrow the personal development plan, which your sons and daughters will see more of tomorrow. We've started it already, but they haven't had the supporting paperwork. This will be delivered during tutor periods on a Friday, every Friday, period 1 for year 12, and there are all sorts of opportunities throughout the year. And topics that we cover will include, this is a sample, these are the first few weeks. We've done future vision, we've done the skills check, money and scams. We've got more things coming tomorrow. We'll do Excel training. After half term, you can see the things we're planning to do. I'm not going to show you the whole timetable. The students will receive that tomorrow. And you can see the areas we've tried to cover. Tried to help them think about futures, about how society works, how to study well, their own well-being, digital skills and life skills. And all of this will be delivered through the tutor programme, personal development plan. So, a reminder, enrichment, I beg your pardon, opportunities. This is worth a mention along the way. We published the opportunities document. I hope you've all seen that. It comes out via the Parent Digest. Really, really worth a look. Last year, we published over 220 opportunities. These are things that come through our inboxes about work experience, about a taster day, a university open day, a job, an apprenticeship, all sorts of things. We can't possibly go through 220 things in a meaningful way with the students. So we publish them, and we hope that the students are looking at them. They need to. We hope you'll support them with this. And to dispel a myth, there's a myth that schools like us are focused closely on A levels in university. Well, We had over 220 opportunities last year, and I counted them. They were evenly balanced between work experience and apprenticeships on one hand and university-based activities on the other hand. So over 100 things came through our hands that were to do with work experience and apprenticeships. So the point of enrichment is to take people out of their comfort zone, because that is where the magic happens. The last piece in our enrichment programme is Futures Week. This will happen at the end of year 12, and it is a week of activity. And last year, the sorts of activities that we did are listed here. We had speakers in from outside, we had people giving financial advice, psychometric profiling, professionally done. Every student got their own psychometric profile. We had team building. We had youngish teachers delivering ideas for self-help for life. We had things on digital security. We had workshops on apprenticeships. We had a day online with people from Moldova. We had Willing TEDx, where people students gave presentations to governors, and on and on. We did loads of things, and it was fantastic. And your sons and daughters will do that this year. I'm going to hand back to Mr Leach now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Schofield. And I think it's important to explain the day-to-day running of sixth form for the parents as well. And I think it's worth understanding what our expectations are, what a timetable looks like. Your children may or may not have shown you their timetable, and it's worth having a little look and exploring. So firstly, I wanted to outline our expectations. We expect students to be working on 10 hours per subject per week. Now, that is hours, not lessons. So we work in 50-minute lessons, but we've equated it to hours as well. So it's 4 hours of lesson time and 6 hours of other work. Now, the other work, I'll talk a little bit more about the types of independent work we expect to see. But it's the other, in the inverted commas there, is homework, is independent study, etc. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. We want students to be enthusiastic. We want them to be ambitious. We want them to really embrace the subjects. They've chosen the subjects that they want to study, and it's about making sure they get their teeth into it and really, really, really try and really engage. We also need to build resilience. That's something that some students will struggle with in the initial stages of sixth form. Some students will have loads of resilience already, and actually the fact that students have studied through lockdowns and the fact that they've worked tirelessly through a global pandemic suggests quite a lot of resilience in the first place. But it's a challenge, sixth form. It's a whole new challenge, and building resilience in that way will ensure that students can overcome those challenges. Take part in the enrichment stuff. It's the holistic approach, as all of Ms Schofield's just mentioned, about all of those bits and pieces that students can do. It's really important that students embrace their opportunity in sixth form. You only get one chance to go through sixth form, and once you've passed it and you go on to university, you will look back and think, actually, how could I have enriched my time at sixth form as well? But also looking after yourself, asking for help. Students need to come to us. We have a fantastic team, as outlined by Ms Schofield at the start, we have fantastic sixth form mentors. We have fantastic tutor team. We're bringing up our own tutor team, I appreciate, but they are brilliant. And we would like students to be able to approach them and really, they are struggling to ask. But also there's one element that we really do ask for students to do is follow the dress code. The dress code is available via the handbook. And it also includes a lanyard. All students have been given a lanyard. They purchased their access to leave school sites. Making sure that they have it on is imperative. It's really, really important that we have that. So looking at a timetable, this is what a timetable looks like for those students. And this is based on 3 subjects. There is a 6-lesson difference there, but some subjects have smaller cohorts, therefore they only have 8 lessons a fortnight. But the majority of subjects at A-level have 10 lessons across a fortnight. A Key Stage 4 timetable will have 60 periods a fortnight. With 3 subjects, a Year 12 student will have 30 lessons. Therefore, there is 30 blocks on a timetable that we need to ensure students are using effectively and wisely. And we'll come to those now. On top of the lessons, we have what's called an 11th lesson, which is a bit odd for those that have 8 lessons. They probably should be called a 9th lesson. But for the sake of argument, we call them the 11th lesson. And this is a contact period, but it's not taught by a specialist within the subject. It is a supervised period, and it is used in a variety of different ways. Some subjects use it for independent learning, giving them opportunities to work on maybe coursework, might be an opportunity to sit assessments, whereas other subjects use it with a little bit more focus, a little bit more direction. It all depends on the type of subject that they're studying. Another part of the timetable, which is slightly different to Key Stage 4 and Key Stage 3, is a tutor period. This is not tutor time, this is not AM registration, this is an additional period on top of their timetable where they spend 50 minutes every week with their form tutor within their tutors, within a class of 15 tutors. Ms Schofield has mentioned a little bit more about that and the programme that we're following there, but it's a great opportunity to build a rapport. It's really important for those students to feel really supported by their tutors, and it gives an opportunity to build on some conversation for those learning review day appointments as well. That gives us a full contact or total contact time of 35 periods out of 60 a week. That is lesson time, 11th lesson and tutor period. On top of that, we have silent study. We classify this as contact time because it is registered. A variety of different teachers across the school will come over and supervise the sixth form study room. Students need to attend these lessons. They are compulsory. Any time that they're on the timetable, they are compulsory. They need to be there. At any point, sixth form students can use the study room without being on the register, but when they have it on their timetable, we do expect them to be there. They need to make sure that they are coming to those sessions with work. We've had a few students in the early few weeks, and I haven't got anything to do, so I don't need to go. Well, there's lots of things that students can do. They can access the independent study folder, which is available to all students, and they can work through some additional independent learning. In that independent learning time, we have plenty of things that those students can be doing within their study periods. We have they obviously have the homework set by class, set by the teachers. We have 11th lesson work, and silent study is where they can complete their independent work. There's research, additional reading. They can watch podcasts, listen to podcasts or watch a TED talk, create quizzes. There's loads of opportunities for a variety of different independent strategies. And we will teach students throughout the year more and more of these, and it'll hopefully give them a better understanding of how to complete independent work. It's something that students don't necessarily have the capability to do from the earlier years in school, but it's a strength and a skill that is required for success at A-level. That leaves lots of blank spaces on timetables, and this is what the students once upon a time would call freeze. We're trying to move away from that terminology. We're trying to direct students towards changing a culture in sixth form and trying to call that independent periods. We're not here as taskmasters expecting students to work every single minute of every single day, but we do ask students to plan their time wisely. If they've got lots of free periods in a day, can you get your homework and your independent study done so that you have more downtime when you get home? Is there an opportunity to make the best of your time while you are in school and in a school environment? And then lastly, we have Independence Day. Again, an opportunity for students to enrich their life a little, or their sixth form life a little bit more, do some of the examples that Ms Schofield was talking about earlier with regards to enrichment. And it's a really valuable time. There's lots that can be done. We have students that work within the school. We have students that go to Mrs Bland's to do, or we have had students that go to Mrs Bland's to do reading with other primary school, with the primary school students, sorry. But it's such a valuable time. But it's valuable if students make it valuable. And if they don't, then it becomes quite difficult and almost tedious. So we try and direct students to use that time wisely, and hopefully in the coming weeks they'll be able to tell you what they're doing during their Independence Day. I'm going to pass back over to Mr Collot now. He's going to talk a little bit about remote learning, which is something I think the students are probably pretty clued up on.
Yes, we're not planning for a third school closure and remote lesson, I'm sure you're glad to hear, but we are fully prepared. I think it's fair to say we've become experts in teaching remotely using a variety of tools, which we're still using now because they do support teaching and learning very well. So we are communicating with students using emails, a little bit more later about that, using class charts, as I'm sure you're fully aware, And we've also got all classes set up on Teams, so we can share materials, we can work collaboratively, and we can set assignments. So please do ask your children if you're not familiar with these tools and you want to know more, or feel free to contact us and we will happily explain to you what we use and how we use them. It's also important to be aware that we would also rely on these tools if your child had to isolate to continue with their learning.
Okay, back to me, I think. So, a couple of bits and pieces of housekeeping, really. In terms of communication, we absolutely need people. And if I start frothing at the mouth here, Mr Leach has promised to drag me off. So, we need them to check their emails every day. We need them to check class charts every day. It's only if they absolutely will do these things that as we progress through sixth form, we'll be able to allow them to have flexible study conditions. Otherwise, they'll have to be in tutor every morning because we can't get hold of them. So, must check emails daily, class charts daily. We want them to check opportunities weekly. I just keep putting things in that document almost as fast as they arrive. I think once a week is a good check. If something comes in with a really short date on it, I tend to ask tutors to tell people to have a look. So weekly is enough. If they're planning on going to university open days, or maybe there's a driving test, or something that can't be done outside school hours, then students are allowed to book time off. We presume that they've spoken to you about it. We don't make that check. And they get their tutor to sign a form. We will sign them off. If a student can't be in school and they're well, so if they're isolating or they're off for something like an open day, the onus is on the students to contact their subject teachers and talk about how they're going to find out what the work is and when they're going to catch up. The onus isn't on the subject teachers, it's on the students. So if they're ill, it's different. If they're off and well, they're responsible for catching up with their work. So how can you support your sons and daughters through this process? In the main, we'll get them there academically. If they're doing the things that we ask them to do and they're keeping on top of their work, they should hit or exceed their target grades. We'll help them get there. But there's so much more to going through sixth form than passing BTECs and CTECs and A-levels. And the things you can do to help your sons and daughters are help them with goal setting. Whether a goal is about an academic subject, or it's about a MOOC, or it's about a volunteering opportunity, or some work experience, or passing their driving test, whatever it is, help them set their goals. Help them keep active. All of the adults in the room already know that staying active is so important. Sometimes teenagers need reminding. Help them to review the opportunities document. I would love it if you had a chat with them about it once a week. We've seen this one, what are we going to do about that? What do you think? Help them to eat healthily. Please help them to have time off. Nobody can work all the time and come out of it well. And as part of the time off, if it's physically possible, I know it's not always, get their devices away from them. Get them away from screens, get them reading or chatting or something. It gets increasingly difficult, doesn't it? Keep an eye on their sleep patterns. Let's hope they're not staying up too late and struggling to get up in the morning. Let's hope they're getting enough sleep. Help them to stay fairly cool and calm that life. None of this is worth getting too stressed about. A lot of belief. Show you believe in them and support them. Those are the things that we'd be very grateful if you would do. And I'm sure those are the things that you're doing anyway. Okay, my last piece of info, I couldn't think of where to put this, so it's just the last slide. Bursaries. There's no such thing really as pupil premium in sixth form. So if your son or daughter previously received free school meals, for example, that money doesn't automatically come through. They need to come to the office, get an application form and apply for bursary, and then we pay money to the students. About a dozen forms have been taken and only 2 have come back. No form, no money. Please make sure the forms are coming back to us really quickly now. Okay, that's everything from us. If you're in the room, we'd say any questions, but of course you can't ask at the moment. If there's something that springs to mind that we haven't covered, you'd like to know more about, email Mr Leach, email Mr Collot, email me, we'll get back to you. Hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.